All right, good afternoon. Bon après-midi à tous. Welcome to the Committee of Adjustments hearing for the Urban Panel 1. We are a City of Ottawa quasi-judicial tribunal that holds public hearings to consider Planning Act applications, including minor variances to the zoning requirements and consents to sever land. Our hearings are in person here at Ben Franklin Place, 101 Centrepoint Drive. We also enable remote participation by video conference for our registered speakers. We're also live streaming on YouTube, and the video will be archived and available for future viewing by the public. My name is Sharon Lecuyer, and I will be chairing today's hearings, and you can address me by my name or as chair. And so with me today are my fellow panel members. We have John Blatherwick, Colin Haskin, and Arto Keklikian. So today's procedures will be as follows. Listed on the agenda and appearing on the screen from time to time are the applications we will hear today. And for the sake of efficiency, the panel may deal with agenda items in a different order. Please note that panel members have reviewed the planning reports and any written submissions in support or opposition to each of the applications. And the purpose of today is to hear any oral submissions related to these applications. As part of the statutory public notification requirement, each applicant was required to post a sign on the property in question before the hearing. They also had to confirm in writing that they did so, or they will need to swear or affirm an oath today that they have fulfilled the requirements for the sign posting. Otherwise, we may have to adjourn or propose the hearing. Did we receive all of the sign postings?
We have all signed declarations, Madam Chair.
Great, thank you. At the point of the agenda where we hear applications, the panel may ask for a brief presentation of an application, followed by questions for the applicant and city staff. We will then hear from members of the public who have registered to speak, and we may also have questions for them as well. Finally, the applicant who has the burden of proof will have an opportunity to make final comments in response. Please address your comments to me as chair, and if you're not on our registered list, starting with your name and spelling of your name if necessary, as well as your municipal address for our records. All presentations are limited to 5 minutes, and any exceptions to this will be at my discretion. At the end of the hearing, the panel may either make an oral decision or we may reserve our decision, which means it will not be delivered today. But in either case, and within 10 business days, the Committee of Adjustment will send the official written decision and reasons for it to all parties, participants, and anyone else who has requested a copy. Are there any questions about the procedures we will follow here today? Seeing none, we can move forward. So we have 10 applications to hear today, but first we will be dealing with some procedural matters. First, are there any declarations of interest? Yes, Member Keklikian.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wish to notify that I'm recusing myself from item number 7, that's Friel and Windward, as well as item number 9, Blackburn. These properties are in my neighborhood, and I just want to avoid any perception of bias or conflict. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Member Keklikian. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, we will move forward on our next item, which is confirmation of minutes. And I understand we have October 8th and October 22nd to approve. Does anyone have any concerns with confirming these minutes? Okay, we will consider those confirmed. Next, we will deal with withdrawals and adjournment requests, and we have 2 adjournment requests to consider today. So first, I'm going to ask the agent for item number 1, Allison Clark, if they could come forward. This is for 1125 Rockingham.
The agent is online, Madam Chair, so we'll bring them forward.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Hi there. So I understand there's an adjournment request by I think it's the Rideau Valley Conservation Authority as well as planning.
Correct.
You just want to recap the anything that we should know in considering the request for the adjournment?
We're happy to agree to the adjournment and have a meeting scheduled with the RVCA to dive into their comments further Friday, excuse me.
Okay. And there's no one, we do have registered speakers, but because this is being adjourned, I guess I will be asking if there's anyone online who wants to speak to the adjournment request. And so what the adjournment means is that we won't be hearing the application today. It will be postponed to a future hearing. So we're just looking for anyone who wishes to speak to the adjournment request. No.
Madam Chair, I'll just clarify, if there's any speaker online who wishes to speak to the adjournment request, they can use the raise hand function. And there also may be interested parties in the room as well.
In the audience, yeah. Okay, so is there anyone here in that would like to speak to the adjournment request? Yeah, so the adjournment has been, request has been placed by two parties. One of them is the city to allow the application additional time to submit a site plan control. And then the second one is from the Rideau Valley Conservation Area to allow time for a geotechnical analysis. So that's going to give the applicant time to address maybe some of the matters that have been brought forward to date. Yep.
Sure, we're notified and we'll be able to speak as residents of the neighborhood with the amount of requests that they have. Each of them affects the neighborhood. So I'm wondering if this is adjourned and then it's dealt with later, if we will have an opportunity to speak, because the way this was presented, it wasn't given to the entire neighborhood who will be affected by this.
Sorry, Madam Chair, I don't mean to interrupt. We will need any speakers to come forward and speak into the microphone. The applicant's agent is online, so they won't be able to hear what's being said otherwise.
Right, of course. So I could recap. So there was just some concerns about whether just the rationale for today's adjournment and also ensuring that when it's coming forth again to be heard, whether that they will be whether residents or nearby individuals will have an opportunity to speak. So I could probably speak to both those things. I think we've heard on the rationale in terms of the opportunity to speak. Yes, any comments that we've received to date as part of this application get kind of part of our package when this comes forward. So we get those in addition to the regular procedure that would happen today in order to have an opportunity to speak. I'll have you come down then.
Because we did.
Just sorry, if you could use the microphone just so that those online can hear us. Yeah.
Hi, I just wanted to make sure that what was sent in prior to this meeting and what the information I have now will be able to be sent in as well.
So why don't you go ahead?
I can do that. Thank you, Madam Chair. So everything that was submitted to the file, all comments, whether in support or opposition to the application, are retained on the file. They've been made available to committee members. Those will continue to be available to all parties. When the hearing is reconvened, there's no timeline established yet, as the committee hasn't addressed whether this would be an adjournment to a specific date or to no date, which would then require a further circulation.
Okay, so let me be clear. The information that I have here that I'd like to present, is that going to be available to who's going to decide whether this is going to go ahead or not?
It'll be in the file. So whatever you submitted ahead of time, we have as part of our package. When this gets reconvened, it will be part of our package, and anything in addition you would like to submit at that time, the project could change, something could change, and thus.
Okay, I just want to make sure that I have an opportunity to say what I had to say rather than type it up and send it in.
Yeah, so today we're not discussing the merits of the application, we're just discussing whether it will be adjourned or not.
Fair.
In terms of it being adjourned though, the specific date, because a geotechnical analysis and a site plan control, perhaps I could hear from planning staff on, I guess, a timeline for that. We wouldn't be going to a specific date. I would think sine die would be best.
Yeah, we would be recommending that the application be adjourned sine die.
So what sine die means is just it's not being adjourned to a specific date. It will come back when it's ready to be heard. And so given that we have to do a geotechnical analysis and a site plan control, it will be probably some time before that. This will be coming back to us. So this is an opportunity the applicant would have to engage with individuals in the community, modify the application, whatever it might be in order for it to be heard. Pardon me? And they'll be notified again. Sorry, yes, thank you. That's a good point. So when a sine die applications means it will be recirculated. And so the same procedures that happened this past time will happen again.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Sorry, thank you. Okay, going back to the agent, Allison Clark as sine die. I'm not seeing you on screen, so sine die adjournment.
I am here. So yep, we have no issues with sine die. Thank you.
Okay, so although members, are we ready for a vote? All those in favor for an adjournment, sine die? Okay, we'll consider that adjourned.
Thanks all.
Thank you. We also have a second adjournment request for 19 Herdman. This is item 10. Could I get Dean Bolholos? I'm so sorry. Bolhos? Bolhos? I like it. And this is also an adjournment request. And looking at my notes here, this request came from planning regarding, oh yes, this one, the instrument number has been released.
Yes, we are in agreement that we will release it and we'll seek the services of a lawyer for that.
Okay, so I think because this has been adjourned, I think
It was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. And so I think at this point, we will be adjourning it sine die, or do you have a specific date in mind? Because I know this stuff takes time.
It does. We're asking for 60 days for this because it's going to take, up to that long to have all the parties agree and then have it official and then go on to the survey as well.
Yeah, okay, so I think to err on caution, I think we'll do a sine die just so that there's no pressure on anyone. When it's ready, we'll come back and we'll be ready to hear it.
Sounds good.
That sounds good.
Agreed.
Is there anyone online or in the audience who is looking to hear about, to speak to the adjournment request for 19 Herdman? All right, panel members, all those in favor of adjournment, sine die for 19 Herdman? Okay, your application is adjourned. We'll see you in the new year.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Back to my speaking notes. Declarations, withdrawals, hearing, unopposed. We did the minutes. Okay, I think we're ready to hear the rest of the order. Yes, fast tracks. So those will go first, which I have to do. Okay, I'm going to be doing a vote separately. So there's two items on our fast track list. Item 8, which is 13 Murray, and item 9, 76 Blackburn. The agents don't need to come forward, but we're just going to do a vote separately as one of our members has declared an interest on item 9. So I'm just going to read out. So just to recap I don't have that in my meeting notes. But you saw the criteria of what is, oh, here it is. The unopposed applications. So in order to qualify for a decision, there's no objections or concerns from any of the parties, the city or any applicants or members of the public. There's no amendments required. There's no registered speakers. The sign posting has been declared and the applicant or agent has confirmed that they are in agreement with all the requested conditions and there's no questions from panelists. So for item 8, which is 13 Murray, all members in favor or all members, we can go for a vote for an application for this application. All those in favor? Okay, item 8 is approved. And for item 9, I know Arto has to step away briefly. 76 Blackburn. Members, all those in favor? All right, the item 9, 76 Blackburn has been approved. All right, now back to the beginning. I think we're gonna go just probably straight in order. So let's go to item 2, which is 379 Cooper. And my agent for that is Mr. Sutherland. All right. So, just have to grab my notes here. So I'd like to get a presentation for this application. Is one going to come up on the screen? This one? Okay, great. Great. So you have 5 minutes. Go ahead.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of committee. My name is Nick Sutherland. I'm a senior project manager and urban planner with Arcadis here in the city of Ottawa. Today presenting to you for 379 Cooper Street. Next slide, please. So a quick overview of our location here. We are within the downtown core area located on Cooper Street, just a few meters off of Bank Street. Next slide, please. The subject site is located in a small cluster of low-rise, mostly residential, but some mixed use. In the surrounding area, there's a mix of low-rise, mid-rise, and high-rise buildings, as well as a mix of uses, residential, commercial, and others. Next slide, please. Just give you a quick overview of the planning process that we've done to date. So we have acquired a heritage permit in October of 2024. We have undergone the site plan control application process submitted in earlier this year, deemed complete in August, and approved in late October, pending obviously the minor variance application, as well as the resolution of the conditions and completing a letter of undertaking. Finally, the minor variance applications, we did have previous applications back in 2023 that were deemed to be premature. So we came back in August. One variance was missed at that time and identified, so we were adjourned at that time and back here today. Next slide, please. Quickly on the official plan, we're within a hub in the evolving neighborhood overlay within the downtown core and the transit policy area. Next slide. We're also within the residential fifth density site-specific exception 482 height 37 zone with a heritage overlay applicable. Next slide. Just to quickly overview the proposed development. So this is an existing building with 10 dwelling units within it. We are not changing the footprint of the building. We are simply adding 3 new units to the basement. 1 vehicle parking space is being added to the site. 7 bicycle parking spaces are being added in the rear as well. There's a sunken patio that is below grade in the front yard, which provides access to the basement units, as well as a new covered porch at the first level and a second-story balcony as well. Next slide, please. In terms of the proposed variances, we have 3. The first one is a reduced amenity space of 96.33 square meters or 7.41 square meters per unit. The second being a reduced communal amenity area for the first 8 units of 55.79 square meters in the rear yard at grade, 64% or 35.78 square meters of which is soft landscaping. And finally, the projections in the front yard, including the sunken patio, the first floor porch, and the second floor balcony, with the largest projection being 5.38 meters. Next slide, please. In terms of the other requirements of the zoning bylaw, we do meet the rest of them. There's a few legal non-complying provisions just because it's an older building and an existing building. Next slide, please. Quickly looking at the requested variances here. So for amenity space, it is a reduction from 150 square meters to 96.33. A reduction for the communal amenity area from 120 and 96 square meters of soft landscaping to 55.79 and 35.78 square meters of landscaping. And finally, to allow for the projections of up to 5.38 meters for the balconies and patio in the front yard. Next slide, please. So just an overview of the variance, the minor variance for tests. So we do feel that we meet the intent and purpose of the official plan. This is a development that promotes intensification in the downtown core, proximity to many amenities as well as transit. The variance maintains the intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. It's maximizing amenity space for residents within a site that's limited by the lot size and heritage constraints, and is supported by many of the nearby amenities and parks. The variance is desirable and appropriate. It utilizes underused space within the building while maintaining the heritage character of the building itself and responding to the existing built form of the neighborhood. Finally, the variance can be considered minor in nature. It is a small site-specific adjustment leading to a technical shortfall in some of the provisions, but generally is still an acceptable variance in our opinion. Next slide, please. I think that's it. Yep. Happy to respond to any questions.
Great, thank you. Members, any questions?
I have one for the applicant here. Is the reduction in amenity space being driven by the additional units being added? Of course, amenity space being calculated on a per unit basis. Is that what is driving your need for the variance?
In part, but also just because of the existing site is limited in size, we actually wouldn't have met it with the 10 units existing. So there is a constraint already there, and then the addition of 3 units is further constrained. One thing we did note in our report, the balconies provide a little bit of additional amenity space for the units that have access to them. That does not count towards that amenity space for the whole, but there is a little bit of additional space for some of those units too.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yeah, go ahead, John.
Mr. Sutherland, the driveway between 381 and 379, your property, that's a shared driveway?
It's like partially, it's kind of 2 driveways sort of next to each other kind of thing, as far as I'm aware.
Well, 381 has its own driveway.
Yeah. And there's a parking space that we're adding kind of at the end of the driveway that's on our property.
So you haven't considered removing the parking spaces to provide extra amenity space around the building?
We did initially. We looked at not including a parking space. We did have that discussion with planning staff and decided that given the addition of units, 1 parking space might actually be a benefit to this site with 13 units in it. Certainly can be, yeah, I think that's just the decision that was made at that time.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
And just refreshing them, the city has no concerns with this application. So I think we're ready to go to the public portion. I don't have any registered speakers. So is there anyone here in the audience today or anyone online who would like to speak to this application, which is 379 Cooper Street? Seeing none. Do you want to have 2 minutes to recap?
I think I'm good. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Members, are we ready for a vote on this on the floor? Yep. Okay. All those in favor? Okay. Your application's unanimously approved.
Thank you very
Good
much.
luck with your
Chair.
project.
Thank you.
All right. We'll go to item 3, which is 7 Lowry, and looking for the agent, Ms. Rosaline Hill or Jonathan Harris. Online? All right.
Hello.
Hello. Good afternoon. All right. So I think for this one, we'd like to hear a presentation. And in particular, perhaps we noticed that the application was a bit light from some of the packages we've seen in the past. So perhaps go over the legal tests required for a consent application and just focus your presentation on that.
Sure.
Go ahead, you've got 5 minutes.
Okay. All right. So if we could go to the next slide, please. The subject property is on Lowry. So this is in Hintonburg, quite close to the transit way. Next slide. Oh, and still on that slide, if we could for a moment. The subject property is marked. You'll see that half of the subject property backs onto Manchester Avenue, and there is a small escarpment there. So the back end of the property is a little bit of a natural cliff. So the houses on Manchester are lower than the houses on Lowry and the backyards along Lowry. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Oh, there we go. So this is the subject property with the existing building that we propose to demolish. Next slide, please. Existing context. So you can see on the top two images, the existing housing is quite diverse, a mix of old and new. The new buildings are as on the image on the right, the left-hand side of the image, it's a 3-story building. That's the kind of typical form of the new housing along the street, much like we're proposing. The bottom right-hand image on this slide shows the end of the street at Manchester and that little escarpment or cliff. So that's the back end of the subject property that you're looking at right now. And then houses on either side of Montague are to the right and left of that image. Next slide, please. So we're proposing to sever the subject property into 2 compliant pieces of property, zoning compliant pieces of property, in order to build 2 8-unit buildings that meet the zoning performance standards in every way. Next slide, please. So that's what the buildings would look like, with front porches and front entries, as well as doors down the side yards and around the back. The proposed development is fairly simple, creating new lots that are the size of the existing lots along the street. They allow for intensification close to transit, which is the intent of the official plan and the vision that the official plan has for this and many other well-serviced neighborhoods. As I said, it's fully zoning compliant. So it's in an R4UB zone in which 8-unit buildings are permitted to a height of 11 meters, which is the 3-story form that you see here. The setbacks are being respected. The projections are meeting the performance standards of the zoning. Because this is the existing lot fabric along the street that we are echoing or maintaining by dividing a double lot into 2 lots, and because this is the pattern of development already existing on the street in terms of the 3-story new multi-unit building. The 8 units is as intended by the zoning. The intensification is as intended by the official plan. I would propose that it's a fairly simple approach to redevelopment in this location. We're not proposing any parking on site. This also is very much supported by the official plan, and zoning doesn't require any parking. Again, we're in close proximity to the transitway and walking distance to all sorts of local services and shops. The land is serviced with water and sanitary. The buildings will be constructed with flat roofs so that stormwater can be stored on the roofs and released slowly, so as to prevent any contribution to excessive overland flow in storm events. And I think that's everything, unless you guys have some questions for me.
All right. I didn't hear anything about the provincial policy statement, so maybe we can start there, because I think that's part of the consistent, the legal test for a consent to sever. It is consistent with the provincial policy statement. So if you could touch on that.
Yeah. So the provincial policy statement is looking for severances to be regular in keeping with the pattern of development in the area. So these are the same lot sizes that already exist on the street. Not creating any problems in terms of grading in the area. So the properties are relatively flat. The drop in grade at the back edge of the property doesn't really affect the development of the site, except that the owners do need to be very thoughtful about the stability. They do have an engineering report, and they will continue to monitor the stability of that cliff edge as will all of the owners along that stretch. But the development is quite a distance from that cliff edge, so it's not affected or affecting the stability of the rock. The land is serviced, and there are no other challenges in terms of the sort of normality of the development with respect to the provincial policy statement.
And how many meters is the development from the rear of the property where this retaining wall is?
It is, sorry, just zooming in, almost 9 meters, 8.99 meters from the rear property line, and the cliff is almost exactly along that rear property line.
Okay. And did you get a chance to see some of the comments that have come in from the public? Perhaps you can respond to those, or I can recap them if you hadn't seen them.
Yes, I have seen them, and I've talked to the 2 representatives from the community association and 2 individuals who've submit comments, and some pretty lengthy conversations. They shared a lot of concerns about the way their neighborhood is changing, and disagreed with the official plan fundamentally about the way their neighborhood is evolving. So it was an interesting conversation. They didn't express any specific concern about our development, except concerns that were just sort of contrary to the official plan intent for intensification. So difficult conversations to have, but you know, they were thoughtful at least.
Okay, those are all the questions I have. Members, any questions? Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Member Blatherick.
Ms. Hill, you're aware of section 56(1) of the zoning bylaw that deals with adequate urban, suburban, and rural services?
Yes.
Okay. So could you confirm with the committee that there is adequate capacity of water, sewerage, and stormwater systems for
Yes, you can.
this proposed project?
Yeah, there isn't a storm sewer on this street, but the overland flow is not creating any pooling or ponding. We know that there are some other developments on the street that have installed their roof drains shooting out across the sidewalk in ways that are inappropriate and have caused problems, and we do not intend to repeat that. I talked with some of the local residents about that problem and really encouraged them to advocate for change when those situations are unsafe. But we have no intention of repeating that. I'm not sure how it is that could have happened or remains in that situation. Water will be managed appropriately off of the site. And there is a significant enough amount of lawn for roof drains to be ejecting onto in our proposal, such that there's no need for concern about water.
Okay, well, let's talk about sewers and potable water, though. Do you have confirmation that the addition of these 16 units on this section of a street which has very old infrastructure, subsurface infrastructure, is not going to negatively affect the capacity of either the sewer laterals or the potable water supply?
No, however, we have consulted with city staff and that wasn't flagged. So it is my understanding that they would have informed us if there was a problem. So therefore I conclude that there is adequate water supply.
That doesn't convince me that there's adequate supply. Maybe we'll ask the planning department, Madam Chair. Have you folks requested a site servicing study to be done to ensure that this development is not going to cause problems in this neighborhood?
No, so engineering did review the servicing for this and noted that there was no stormwater pipe, but the sanitary and water services are sufficient to service these 2 developments.
And how do they know that they're sufficient? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to speak for them, but I have the servicing in front. They were built and installed the water was installed in 1994 and is over a 200 millimeter pipe. And
Okay.
the sanitary was also installed in a 250 millimeter pipe, which is more than adequate for lower residential neighborhoods such as this.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Gildart. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Ms. Hill.
Okay, Aaron, Ms. O'Connell, I saw you pop in, but are you good?
I'm good, Madam Chair. Mr. Geldart more than covered that.
Perfect, wonderful. Okay, I don't have any registered speakers. Any members, any other questions on this? Okay, no registered speakers. So is there anyone in the audience or online that would like to speak to this application? Seeing none. Ms. Rosaline, you have an opportunity to recap the application. The burden of proof is on you.
Okay, thank you. I don't have a lot more to say. It's simple severance into compliant lots that are zone compliant in a neighborhood that's ideally positioned for intensification.
Okay, members, are we ready for a vote on the floor? All right, all those in favor? All right, your application's approved.
Thank you.
Good luck with the project.
Decision. This.
Yeah.
Right, finish.
Okay.
That if there's any problem down the road, people can come back.
All right, item 4, 47 Merritt. Looking for the agent, Tim Pearson. Online, perhaps? Okay, coming right up. So item 4 is the applicant's, it's a minor variance application to construct a 2-story detached dwelling with a front-facing attached garage, and the existing dwelling will be demolished.
Correct.
Great. I
Good
can't
afternoon.
see you quite yet, but I hear you, so that's good. And I think for this one, we don't need to hear a presentation. I think we're just going to go straight to questions. I think we got enough in the application to understand the project. So members, are there any questions on this particular application? No? Okay. I don't have any applications on this one. I do know that the city has concerns with this application. I did note that this is concerns and not some concerns. I know I've seen sometimes the language in your planning reports. And I believe this is pertaining to the front-facing garage component of the application. So perhaps you could just recap what the concerns are.
Thank you, Chair. Planning staff often raise concerns with front-facing attached garages in the mature neighborhood overlay. And in this case, we have raised concerns due to the policies in the official plan and the zoning and the provisions of the zoning bylaw, which indicate that when the dominant character does not include detached garages, then detached garages are not permitted.
And for the record, I looked in here in the application, some examples of, looks like some new, some existing and older properties that have garages. Presumably the ones that are newer here would have been approved before the bylaw was in place. That could be how it happened, or maybe they were here before us.
That is correct. It could be that they were introduced prior to the zoning bylaw change, or were here in front of the committee and received approval.
And can you refresh my memory? I know that there's the zoning, the new zoning bylaw has not been approved yet. I've been in and out of following along how things have gone. Remind me, the streetscapes character analysis, I think, is the reason why this is the reason why the city has concerns. Can you just remind me where the kind of the future direction is headed on that piece? Is this something that's going to be an issue if this application was before us next year and we had a new zoning bylaw? Is that something that would be in place?
Thank you, Chair. Essentially, from the current draft, it doesn't appear that the streetscape character analysis will be in effect.
Okay. Okay, which we know before whatever we have to approve is what is before us today, but was just curious of kind of what the future direction is on that. We've included, yeah, there were some pictures. I'm good on understanding this. Members, any other questions have come up? Not for this? Okay, so we'll go to the public portion. Is there anyone in the audience or online who wants to speak to 47 Merritt Avenue? Seeing none? All right. Mr. Pearson, the floor is yours to recap the application and anything you would like the committee to know before we render our decision.
One item, just because it came in relatively late. This application is also supported by the Old Ottawa East Community Association. I believe Paul Goodkey did send a letter in this morning supporting the application. So I just wanted to make sure the chair and the committee were aware of that as well.
Okay, great. Yes, I think we did see that come in. All right. Do we want to reserve or do we want to go for a floor vote on this one, members? You're fine for a vote? Okay, members, all those in favor of this application? Okay, you are unanimously granted. Your application is
Thank you.
approved. Good luck with your project.
Thank you very much.
All right, moving along in order. We are looking for application number 5, 1040 Bank Street. This is a minor variance application. Applicant wants to create 2 surface parking spots at the southwest corner of the property, accessed from Elmer Avenue. And I'm looking for, the agent is Lloyd Phillips. Is that you? Great, welcome. Take your time. And for this one, it looks like we also don't need to hear, the package was very thorough. So we're going to go straight to questions. Members, any questions for this particular application? Good. I have a question. I noticed in the application, it talked about the parking spots having a, I don't have the exact wording in front of me. Oh, here. The proposed parking spots are intended for church staff only on certain days and for no other purpose. Just curious if there's kind of a percentage occupancy rate or just a volume, like how did you decide on 2? How do you know how much they'll be utilized? If you maybe answer that.
I'm going to request the committee's indulgence and call Mrs. Nancy Waters, who is a church member, and she can give you a better answer than I can with respect to who is using that.
Sure.
On the matter of why just 2 spaces, that's really, well, you can stay there, just press the button. It's really there's a number of things that limit it to 2 spaces. Number 1, there's a limiting distance agreement between the church and the property next door. So the intention is not to trespass beyond the limiting distance agreement. And really that's why there's only 2 spots. I'll introduce Mrs. Nancy Waters. Nancy, if you could, I'm taking over your chair here, state your name and your address.
Are you the retired planner who did the? Aha, all right. Love it.
Yes, I'm Nancy Waters. I live at 150 Glen Avenue.
Thank you.
I've been a member of this church for many years and I'm part of the volunteer group that keeps it going. So you wondered about occupancy. So we have a minister and a choir director, both who need parking. They are both part-time and they work variable hours. You can imagine the minister's there on Sundays. She's planning on having a couple of mornings per week where she'll be kind of in residence, and then they have to be able to come and go. There'll be no overnight parking there. There are times of the week where our outreach programs, which are very important to the local community, including our Suppers Out of the Cold program. They served 1,000 meals on Saturdays between October and April last year. We have volunteer groups that are in the kitchen and cooking on a Saturday, so they will use those spots to unload their groceries. It's a very, very busy corner with Lansdowne right across the street, and Bank Street, especially the new condo there, has all sorts of commercial parking, yoga. There's yoga people coming and parking, so we really don't have a easily walkable distance. On Wednesday noon hour is our music outreach program. We get 100 people every week. It's top-notch performers from around Ottawa and outside of Ottawa. It's offered to people of all means because you can come for free, or it's on a free will offering basis. And in order to run that program, we need to bring in musical instruments and technical equipment for live streaming. So on Wednesdays, the two spots will be really crucial for some of those very large, bulky items to come in and out. So the church is, the two parking spots won't be used overnight, and they'll be used at variable times, but they're very crucial for the functioning of our church, which is the largest gathering space in Old Ottawa South, which is host to the Writers' Festival, music festivals, and people come in from out of town to perform. We need to provide an easy way for them to come in and provide their service to the community.
All right, thank you. Any questions for our new speaker?
Through the chair, is there any other parking provided on the site, or these two parking spaces being proposed would be the only parking spaces?
They'd be the only spaces.
Thank you.
All right, we have no registered speakers that kind of bumped the list, but I wanted to give the city an opportunity. I noted in the planning report that the city has concerns, not some concerns. I don't know if that signals a severity piece, but perhaps I'll give the opportunity to the planning staff to comment.
Thank you, Chair. In this case, concerns is referring to the fact that we have concerns with both of the variances requested, whereas if we had some concerns, it might only be referring to one or two of the variances. Just want to be clear about that. It's not necessarily an indication of severity. And our concerns stem from the fact that the site is located within the traditional Main Street zone, as well as in the inner urban transect. And, both of these intend to promote a more pedestrian-oriented type of development. And there's also a site-specific exemption, which also requires the parking to be located in the building. So it's sort of difficult to meet those four tests, given the site-specific exemption and the traditional Main Street zone.
And so given the alternative, in order to be compliant, I recall the application was walking through what would make it compliant, which seemed to be a bit counter to what would be intended in a heritage overlay, something about like constructing something. And the details are a little fuzzy on exactly what was worded in here, but what would be the alternative here? We've heard the evidence of what is necessary in terms of kind of a loading zone for bringing, specialized equipment, and if there's parking challenges already in the neighborhood, what's the alternative here?
Given the constraints on the site, the only viable alternative is likely no parking. In terms of the site-specific exception that was in place during the broader zoning bylaw amendment, and the part of the rationale did include that the church did not foresee parking being required. And so that's also some of the history on the site.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. We had a good narrative, but I'm just thinking, visually now in my head, trying to picture the site. You know, given that if it wasn't initially envisioned, and of course, things evolve and change, can you describe the property, or maybe you have a presentation that would have a picture that would kind of explain the situation more visually? Like if this application, for example, wouldn't be approved, is there somewhere where there could be a designated spot out front? Is that too problematic? I don't know what the site looks like, but maybe
Yeah.
you could,
I'll reply to
you-
that, Madam Chair.
sure.
So if we could
Oh, there we
call up the slide deck.
Yeah.
We'll start right from the beginning. Figure 1.
We don't, excuse me, Madam Chair, we don't appear to have a PowerPoint on file.
That's
We do, of
okay.
course, have the plans.
This is
of the
perfect.
application.
Yeah, no, this is perfect.
All right, we'll work with that.
Yeah, no, this is helpful.
Southminster United Church was originally built in 1932, and the original property would consist of the triangle that you see on the site plan up there. About, say 4 or 5 years ago, the decision was taken to remove what used to be was called a Christian education wing of non-heritage. That was basically an extension of the church. And then Southminster partnered with Windmill Developments, and we went through a rezoning that creates the zoning that's in place now. There are specific, I'll try that again, site-specific height limits, and those are shown in our submission, and site-specific exceptions. One of those exceptions is to say that all parking must be within the building, which means the parking that's going to serve the residential component would be in an underground garage, and so that's been built. Where the 2 new parking spaces are proposed in the orange outlined area, well, that used to have a ramp serving disabled people. And during construction of the apartment building, there was a water main that comes in from Aylmer Avenue, and unfortunately that was damaged and there was a catastrophic leak. So all that had to be repaired, and that created basically the space that we see now. The ramp is removed, and so and I was going to say it's been replaced by another ramp that serves what I'll call the east door off of Aylmer Avenue and closer to Bank. And so this created an opportunity that didn't exist when all the rezoning came into place. And it just makes a lot of sense, as Mrs. Waters has told you already, in terms of the functioning of the church, which in the language of the official plan is a cultural asset. And then that's a specific thing that's mentioned to be part of the mix of Main Street. And so it's felt that this is compatible with everything around it, including what's across the street. Our package shows the residential community or residential driveways and houses across the street, and it is definitely minor in nature. I know that the concern that's expressed is that we're asking for parking in a TM zone, which is not permitted in a corner side yard. However, forgive me for saying this, the function of the committee is to look at ways of proposals to vary the bylaw subject to the 4 tests. And in my opinion, and I'll say as a retired planner, we certainly have met the 4 tests. If I could comment on the other matters raised in the planning comments, and that's the on-street parking. Prior to all of this construction and so forth, and when the ramp was in place, the area in front of the proposed spaces was an area for people to disembark from their cars, and then head up to the ramp. So there never was parking there. So there is no loss of parking. And even if the parking were reinstated, there's only a net loss of one space on the street if that happened. But the positive benefit is there is parking for the church staff people, and that takes parking off the street and frees up 2 spaces elsewhere. So I fully understand that the Main Street official plan designation and the traditional Main Street zoning are intended to create I'll say a pedestrian-friendly atmosphere for the Main Street and the side streets leading into them. So in my opinion, it's all of those attributes are very well being maintained through this proposal, and there are really no I'll say any adverse impacts resulting from it. So to sum up, I'm satisfied that the 4 tests of the minor variances for minor variances have been certainly met, and that with the greatest of respect to staff, the concerns are addressed.
Thank you. I found the provision that I was referring to before that I was vaguely referring to. I'm not a planner, and so for me, I'll go back to planning staff. In the application, the applicant notes that there's an exception to this property. So I presume, because I'm not a planner, that this is an exception for this particular site or this particular zoning area. And it says, quote, all parking must be located within a building. We saw the site plan. There's condos, unless we're gonna drive into the church, I don't see how the alternative is within the building. So just for my own, as a non-planner, the intent for this exception was because of the general provisions. Maybe you can help me understand that. It'd be helpful.
Thank you, Chair. So essentially, I wasn't involved in the zoning bylaw amendment application. But I believe before that application, there were 17 parking spaces, I believe, in the rear of the church property before the lot was severed. And then as the applicant was referring to, when it was going to be redeveloped for residential purposes, that provision was added to ensure
that we wouldn't be here today is
Yeah.
kind of, and remind me what year that was, that? Like, is this like a long, long time ago, or is this recent?
Within the last, say, 5 or 6 years,
Okay, so recent enough.
recently, yes.
Okay, all right.
It's still under construction, so.
Okay. Okay, I'm good on questions. Anyone else have a question? Yeah, go ahead, Ardo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A question to the applicant, if I may. You mentioned in the presentation there's underground parking.
Yes, it comes in from Galt Street and it serves the residential development.
Only the residential component. So the
Yes.
2 proposed parking spaces exterior are dedicated parking, essentially, from what I heard, and they're for intermittent use as, say, Sundays or whatever special occasions. And other than that, it's not used.
That's correct. It's not used, I'll say, just to the general congregation or to people attending events.
Right. Okay. Great. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
And one other question that just popped up for me. So you mentioned there's no overnight parking. And again, maybe, I don't know, this is a planning question because it's a kind of a city thing, or maybe it's a you question because it's private property. But who would enforce, the no overnight parking? Or if one of these nearby residential people decide that they want to go park, or an Uber Eats
I
pops
think
by, you'll take it?
The remedy to that is that if the church finds that there is what I'll call illegal parking, that's the wrong word, but in any unauthorized parking, there is the ability to call the bylaw services and to have them ticket them for parking on private property. And the signage can also say reserved for, I'll say staff use only. You know, if things, let's say if there's an event at Lansdowne and somebody sneaks in, well, somebody might have to park a car there to block it, but there are ways and means of dealing with this, and being only 2 spaces, I think it is manageable.
Okay, but those plans haven't been confirmed.
No.
If this were to be approved, how you would control that is TBD.
Yeah, then
But
that's-
there are options.
There are options, and ultimately it'll be in the, you know, hands of the church trustees to make that decision.
Okay. Sorry, was that a hand or I just thought, okay, a stretch, okay. All right, no registered speakers. Any other questions for those before us? Anyone, I'll come back to you. Anyone on or online, in person or online who wants to speak to this particular application? Okay, so you have, the burden of proof is on you to recap. Maybe you can split your time, but you can go
I'll let
ahead.
Mrs. Waters proceed.
Just a very quick response to that question. We do have caretaking staff Monday to Friday. They would monitor those signs, and we would have very polite but direct, informative information to any parkers there and meet them, and we would monitor that.
Polite, not the scary, all unauthorized parking will
Yeah.
be towed.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, recap, anything you'd like to say? Burden of proof is on.
Madam Chair, unless there are any further questions.
Just to make a picture, yeah. There's a lovely picture. I think there's a very good picture in your package that shows that the front from Bank Street to the front of our church is very deep, and it's completely landscaped. We have benches there and the public end up sitting there. The side yard leading all the way along the side of the church on Elmer is also very deep and very landscaped and can be used as almost a public recreation area. The 2 parking spots we're looking for is what, 11%?
11.9% of the Elmer frontage.
Of our. Yeah, it's only 11. What we're looking for is just 11% of a very generous frontage for the community. And this is the largest gathering community space in our old Ottawa South. It's used for many things, Cub Scouts, AA groups, you name it, Girl Guides.
Right. All right, members, are we prepared for a floor vote on this? Yep. All right, all those in favor? Okay, your application is approved.
Thank you very
Good luck.
much.
Thank you.
All right, moving along, we are at item 6, 272 Churchill North. I'm looking for Mr. Segreto. Oh, take your time. I think Mr. Segreto's online. So this is a minor variance application to construct a new, a 3-story semi-detached dwelling. And the existing 2-story detached dwelling will be demolished. All right, hello, Mr. Segreto.
Afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee.
I think for this one, we can go straight to questions. We don't need a presentation. Yeah, sorry, just refreshing my memory on this application. Right, okay. I think, John, you had a question on this one? Go ahead.
Mr. Segreto, regarding the balconies at the rear of each of the semi-detached, there's going to be balconies at the 2nd and the 3rd floor of both residences, I believe?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Have you considered, given the fact that there are no balconies there now, and then you're going to be putting them at the 2nd and 3rd floors, that you should be providing some the neighbors with some reassurance that they're not going to be losing an inordinate amount of their well-earned privacy in their backyards. And I think we've had these discussions with some of the with some of your compatriots and yourself regarding putting privacy screening up on the sides of balconies at 2.1 meter in height, opaque balustrades along the front of the balconies, and limiting the depth of the balconies to 2 meters.
I have no problems with that, Mr. Blatherwick. We've considered that as well on the sides and along the front, some sort of an opaque material screening, but we would consider that, absolutely.
How deep are those balconies going to be, just out of curiosity?
I think they're almost in about 5 feet, almost 5 feet.
So they're not a naturally designed party space.
No, they're not. Just a chair, go out there, have a smoke or a beer or something.
Yeah, the barbecue off the kitchen.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's good because like I said, we've dealt with this on a number of occasions before to provide neighbors with a bit of privacy, given the fact that there's going to be a very large house built behind them. Some of them, especially the 3 houses directly in behind. Okay, thank you, Mr. Segreto. That's all I wanted to speak to. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, any other questions from members to the agent? Okay, I see that the city has some concerns. I think this is the same as the other one that was the front-facing garage. If you want to speak to, just recap.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So to clarify, with this one, we're raising some concerns opposed to full concerns like the other application, simply because we're satisfied that 4 of the 5 variances meet the 4 tests of the zoning bylaw, but we are voicing concerns with the front-facing garages for the same reasons as the other. They submitted a streetscape character analysis, came back that the dominant characteristic was that parking should be limited in front of the building. And then if you look at table 6, row 7 in the official plan, it specifically mentions front-facing garages. And there are also alternative options for a development like this to meet the zoning bylaw. One is not to provide any parking on site. It is exempt under the parking schedule. But 2 is to provide, you could provide a single driveway entrance on the north side of the property, which would not interfere with either of the 2 trees. And then they could have a stacked parking model that would serve both dwelling units. So we did discuss our concerns with the applicant during the pre-consultation phase, and we discussed some of the alternative lot and building configurations that were available to them. And while they acknowledged planning's concerns, they moved forward with this development.
Okay, thank you. And I'm seeing here on page 11 of your application, the examples of other properties in the area that have front-facing garages. So quite a number of wide lots where the subject property is with about 3 front-facing garages. And then on the other side of, that's Lanark, quite a number on the other side. Mr. Segreto, perhaps a response? It looks like no one else has any kind of questions about the other one, so maybe we can just focus the questions on the front-facing garage aspect.
Yes, Madam Chair. Again, when you're looking at, we had 3 options that we were looking at as suggested by the planner. If you were to go to my presentation, I might be able to explain it a little bit better. It's the alternative parking options. Option number 1, I'd like to put it on the screen if possible.
Yep, we're going to pull it up, and I'm also looking at it in the application on page 12 of your application as well. Great, thank you.
So there's a floor plan, a site plan.
It's coming. think we're zoomed in there.
Sheet 11, maybe?
Sheet 11.
Oh, no, it's just me. I'm zoomed in, sorry. There we go.
There we go. Thank you so much. So when you're looking at the first one, the one on the far left-hand side, that's option number 1. There's an alternative parking. That would have been surface parking, as you can see, with no garages at all. It would be like sort of a open surface parking, and you'd have the 2 separate driveways. And that was one alternative. The owners weren't very happy about that either, and the trees would be getting affected there as well. With that driveway there. The second option that we had was to have the driveway go all the way to the back and then obviously put the parking in the back, and that would kill the backyard. And then there would be lighting issues with neighbors behind us and so on and so forth. So that wasn't very desirable either at that point. So we finally came up with the proposal where we would ask for one of the variances that we're requesting today due to the fact that the tree, you can clearly see the tree on the way we've sort of shaved the driveway a little bit to protect that tree and to protect the other city tree as well. And then by having the 2 driveways right down the middle, we would have our services go down that driveway. And what we also did was we did an overlay of all the driveways in the area that you can see, and there's on the abutting sides of us. There were our neighbors have a double driveway. The other neighbor has a triple driveway. In our case, the driveways that we're proposing today in front of you are the smallest driveways that are on the street that is there right now, width-wise. So we've managed to keep a lot of the landscaping in place, managed to have our services go down the middle, managed to protect the trees, and at the same time, rather than having garbage, cans and so on and so forth underneath the carport area, we can put the garbage cans obviously in the garage and have our legal parking obviously inside the garage as well. So that's the proposal that we went with.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from members? Oh, yeah, go ahead, Ardo.
Thank you. To the applicant, how far is the subject property to Westboro Station?
I think it's not too far. It's definitely in the area.
Yeah.
It is.
Is it walking distance, or is it sort of walking distance, summer, winter?
I believe it is. I believe it is. There's quite a bit between Scott Street and I guess it's Richmond Road or Wellington there.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in that vicinity there, yes.
So it's safe to say that it's well served by transit?
It is, yes, it is.
Okay, thank you.
We don't have any registered speakers. Is there anyone in the audience or online who would like to speak to application 272 Churchill North?
Someone online, Madam Chair, is asking to come forward.
Great. And are they a registered speaker? I'll have to, okay. In the meantime.
Sorry, is that me? Oh, I apologize.
Yeah,
Okay.
Mr. Nielsen?
Yes. Sorry. Yes, I'm actually the owner of the property. I don't know if I'm allowed to speak at this time. I'm not. This is my first time, so I'm not sure if it was the appropriate time to raise my hand or not. So if you could let me know, that would be great.
Sure. Why? Go right ahead.
Yeah, my fiance and I plan to live in one of the units. She grew up in Westboro. I've always had an affinity for the area. We both drive to and from work. Part of the decision-making process of the garages was ours, of course. And it's something that I didn't realize would be such an issue in the early days when I purchased the property, but we've truly went above and beyond to try and appease and make sure that we were doing everything we could to sort of protect the trees and to provide as much detail up front to not only forestry, but to Dylan as well, to sort of try and mitigate or mitigate any of the concerns that anyone would have. So I did just want to make that clear that we really did take into account what was best for the community in the city, and it was important in our decision-making process. So I hope everyone understands that.
Thank you. Anyone else on or online who wants to speak to this application? All right. Mr. Segreto, the floor is yours to recap or address any concerns that have been raised to date. Burden of proof is on you for this application.
Just generally speaking, I think what we're doing here today is good intensification for the city of Ottawa. I think it's a good project moving forward. It's no different than any other project in the area. There's some similar projects right on the same street as us, 2 or 3 doors down the road. I believe that the variances that we're requesting today are minor in nature. And again, I feel that it's a good infill development. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Segreto. And just noting that I believe we heard from the Neighborhood Community Association of not being opposed to this application as well. So just want to make sure that that's on the record.
Thank you.
Members, are we prepared to vote on the floor for this one? Yes? Okay, all those in favor? Okay, your application is unanimously approved. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Lastly, I think item 7, 333 Friel and 319 Wilbrod, you'll step away. And I'm looking for Mr. Bede.
Good afternoon, Chair.
Good afternoon. So this is an application to construct a 3-story, 12-unit low-rise apartment where the existing apartment building will be demolished. And we're looking to authorize a minor variance for the reduced rear yard setback. That's what's before us today. And yeah, we wanted a presentation on this one. So if we can pull that up, if one's been provided. And we'll give you the floor.
Thank you, Chair and committee. So my name is Tim Bede. I'm from FO10. I'm the land use planner and agent for the applicant on this file. Our offices are at 420 O'Connor in the city of Ottawa. As was noted, we're here for a minor variance for the rear yard setback. Specifically, that's to reduce the rear yard setback from the required 7.5 meters to the proposed 4.5 meters. And I'll get into detail as to why we believe that matches and meets the 4 tests of a minor variance from the Planning Act. I'll go to the next slide first, though. So just some context. The site context, the property is comprised of a single lot within the downtown Ottawa neighborhood of Sandy Hill. The community here is represented by moderate residential and commercial densities and building forms. It's a tightly knit existing lot fabric and layout. Next slide, please. The lot itself here is on the corner. It's a corner lot. Wilbrod Street with a frontage of 20 meters and Friel Street with a frontage of 30 meters, total square meter lot area of 609 square meters. As you can see, and as was already mentioned, the property includes an existing vacant and uninhabitable building that at one point contained 7 dwelling units with rear yard, drive aisle, and parking. As has been mentioned, this property is no longer habitable due to a previous fire at the property. Next slide, please. And here's another view of the street, from the street of the existing and boarded up property. Next slide. Just a brief summary of the proposed development. The site is, we're asking for a minor variance to accommodate the construction of this new 3-story low-rise apartment building, which will contain 12 dwelling units. Importantly, the unit mix is that of 2 one-bedroom, 6 two-bedroom, and 4 three-bedroom units, so accommodating a wide variety of future tenants, which is in line with the City of Ottawa's objectives for new infill development in these types of communities. The proposed development features no vehicular parking, which is aligned with the zoning bylaw. and 8 bicycle parking spaces at ground level connected to the rear path and walkway there. That's also how the enclosed and interior garbage storage area is accessed and enclosed. Importantly, the amenity area is provided in the rear yard there, as per the bylaw minimum at 78 square meters, and a 1.4 meter high opaque fence is included along the perimeter of the property, which is also an important consideration for the setbacks that are being proposed. Next slide, please. Here we can see a rendering of the proposed building, which applies a materiality mix of brick and modern cladding, as well as windows and other features to allow the building to meet the character and existing attributes of the community, while also promoting a new modern design. Next slide, please. The next few slides show the elevation. So this is the front elevation. To the next slide, please. The rear, facing the property to the rear. The next slide, please. And the one on the left is the corner side elevation, and the one to the right is the interior side elevation. Next slide. So again, the variance can be seen here in the red text, with the red arrow is to permit slightly reduced rear yard setback of 4.5 meters, whereas the 7.5 would be required. Specifically, and this is important to note as well, the site is noted zoned as a local commercial, which is one of the reasons why the setback in the rear is at the 7.5, whereas the surrounding community is a residential zoning, which would apply a lesser, in some instances, rear yard setback. I'll go to the 4 tests now on the next slide. So test number 1, and these are the 4 tests of the Planning Act to determine the appropriateness of a minor variance. It is our position that the proposed variance maintains the general intent of the official plan and secondary plan here. As we can see, the subject site is located within the downtown core in the neighborhood designation. The official plan permits low-rise residential uses in neighborhood designations, such as is being proposed. And the urban design guidelines and urban design direction from the official plan would ask for appropriate and compatible infill development, which is what is being proposed here, with similar massing and height as the surrounding buildings. The compatibility of the development is evident in converting the rear yard, drive aisle, and parking to soft landscaping for the new development. And importantly, also, the new development represents an increase in dwelling units, which will help to meet the intensification targets of the official plan. The property is on the Heritage Register, and in communication with city staff, we have determined that a cultural heritage impact statement is not required for this property, and the applicant is proceeding through the registered demolition process as we speak, as is the protocol for these types of instances. And further, as was noted in the staff report for the property, they have no heritage concerns for the minor variances, and in general, the application aligns well with the direction of the Sandy Hill character area. Next slide, please. As was noted, the property is in the local commercial zone. This zoning allows for a 12.5 meter building height, as well as some neighborhood. Sorry, is that the end of the?
You can keep going.
Okay, sorry, I haven't heard that beeping before. I wasn't sure if that was for me or not. I'll wrap up quickly here. The application here that you see before you today aligns well with the vast majority of the planning provisions for the site, including maximum height, uses, other setbacks, parking requirements, amenity space, and things of that nature. And we're only asking for a relief from one of the many planning provisions which would apply for the site. I'll move on to the next slide. So the 2 next tests it is our opinion that the application is desirable and appropriate for the development and the use of the land. This will allow for residential infill development of a currently damaged and inhabitable home. It's of appropriate massing and height that would align with the existing community. It represents an opportunity to allow for, as was mentioned previously, additional larger 2- and 3-bedroom units. And it converts an undesirable condition in the rear yard, which is currently represented by drive aisle and parking, into soft landscaping. and it's minor in nature, as was mentioned. There is only one variance being required here. The setback is still at 4.5 meters and improving on the condition. There are no, there will be no parking and the associated negative impacts of parking in the rear yard, such as noise, activity into the night, lights beaming into other units. There's also no balconies proposed on the rear facades, which would help to mitigate any concerns with privacy and overlook. And in confirming with the architect for the project, the units which are facing the rear facade, only one per level, would have their primary living room and living areas with windows facing the rear yard area. And finally, I'll go to the next two slides just to show the existing condition. We can see here right now it's a condition of abutting drive aisles. And so if this application is approved and the development goes forward, on the right, which is the subject property, would be converted to that soft landscaping, but would still benefit from the buffer to the existing property on the left of the screen here, which is going to be continue to be a paved drive aisle. In total, the distance between the two properties and buildings would be a total of around 9.5 meters, which would allow for ample distance to help, again, to mitigate any concerns of privacy or overlook. So in summary, we believe the application is adhering to the 4 tests of the Planning Act, and that it is aligned well with the official plan and the zoning bylaw, is minor in nature, and represents appropriate development. And thank you for that extra time, and I welcome any questions.
Great, thank you for that. One question on building envelope. So you showed us the existing condition of what's there, the boarded up building. Is the proposed development going beyond the building envelope that's already in place?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The building envelope is slightly extended into that rear yard. So in that sense, it is slightly larger in that direction. It represents a more uniform built form. But again, it's also making other important changes in the terms of converting the rear yard parking and drive aisle into that soft landscaping, including the opaque fence along the interior lot line to, again, help with privacy and ensuring that this prominent corner has beneficial investment that would include new residential units in the community.
Okay, and then second question on, so you said it's zoned for commercial, but we're building residential. And then the zoning that's being applied is commercial. Can you help me understand?
Certainly.
I'm not a planner, so that's why.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And certainly it's a local commercial zone, which is a unique zone that, in my experience, isn't widely applied, but is flexible in the sense that it would allow for a broad swath or array of uses. It's important to note that it allows purely residential. There are no restrictions which say that it would have to include a certain minimum threshold of commercial or non-residential. Simply, it's in place to permit, if feasible, certain commercial uses that are local in nature, so restricted in their gross floor area and their types of uses. But in no way would that mean that residential wouldn't, through the application of the zoning provisions and intent, that residential would be restricted here.
So just to pique my curiosity, if this happened to be zoned residential and not LC, what would be the rear yard setback?
Thank you. And so the properties abutting this property and generally within the community are all zoned residential 3rd and 4th density. And I believe based on my calculations, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, the setback would be in and around that 4.5 meters for this. It's a unique condition because it is on a corner. And so the rear yard is functioning as a rear and a corner. It's presenting to the street. And so relief may still be required, but it's how it would present to the community and the interface that it would make that we believe makes it appropriate here.
Okay. Members, any questions? Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Bladerick.
Mr. Bede, your firm filed a revised site plan today, correct? For this property?
Oh, sorry. Apologies, Madam Chair. I thought you meant a site plan control application. Just a site plan for this application. We did, and that site plan was simply meant through communication with staff to better represent that the required 1.4 meter opaque fence on the interior lot line was going to be implemented in this design, which allows for the reduced setback on that interior yard.
That 1.4 meter fence extends along the east side of the property only?
Currently, the intention would be that it would extend along the east side of the property only.
Okay. And why only 1.4 meters high and not 2.1?
And through you, Madam Chair, the zoning provisions are specific in terms of the height of the fence that would be required to allow for that reduced interior yard setback, and they stipulate the 1.4 meters.
That's fine, but you've got neighbors right beside. And quite frankly, would they not have reduced privacy issues if you put up a 2.1 meters sandwich board fence along that east side property line? You're already going to put up a 1.4, but that you're adding about this much more height to a fence line.
Certainly, and thank you, Madam Chair, and through you, I haven't discussed with the agent or with the applicant, and I would assume that a slightly higher fence wouldn't be insurmountable here. But in terms of what's been shown on the site plan at this point, it was simply following the direction of the zoning provisions for the site.
So you had no discussions with the residents of 327 Wilbrod regarding this, which is the site next door.
And through you, Madam Chair, there's a lot of different moving pieces in terms of discussions with that property. There's also some encroachments of existing structures, and so discussions are ongoing.
Okay. Well, I'd suggest that that discussion over a slightly higher privacy fence would probably be a good idea. And is there a site plan filed for this application?
And through you, Madam Chair, in this instance, you're referring to a site plan control application. No, there is not. The site plan control application process is not triggered for this application.
Okay. And regarding the committee's standard condition, would you be amenable to having it simply state that subject to the location and size of the proposed complying with the plans filed with the Committee of Adjustment on October 24th, 2025, period, and eliminating the as they relate to the requested variances?
Through you, Madam Chair, I would prefer to include that statement as they relate to the requested variances, simply because that is what we're here to discuss today, and any other variances or relief from the zoning bylaw that would be required that don't align with the current site plan would have to come back through some approval process.
Exactly.
Whether it be the
Mr. Bede. The problem with this is that it's we're only looking at a rear yard setback. So quite frankly, what you could do is sit down and completely redesign the building and redesign the site plan. And there will be no input from the neighbors at all because it's not covered with our provision, with our condition, the way it's written right now. However, with our condition, with removing the relation to the requested variances out, then you're stuck with what you're going to build is what you presented us and the neighbors with. And I'd be a lot happier if you'd agree with that.
And through you, Madam Chair, the intention is to build the proposal that's before us today. I guess politely disagree slightly with the assertion that we could come back and rebuild the building without having any review. It would have to be an as of right building, and so it would have to follow the provisions of the zoning bylaw, and anything that was outside of those provisions would certainly have to come back through a formal review and vetting process. And so I think that at large, no, we wouldn't have a concern with that slight tweak to the condition.
Okay.
But again, I would like to voice that I would prefer it to be carried as worded.
How long are you in the planning process? Like, are you at close to building permit stage or still at design stage? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. This is a project that's certainly moving along, and they are moving towards building permits. I'm not immediately aware of what stage of the process they are in terms of building permits, but it certainly is a project that I know the property owner and their team are working diligently on and hope to proceed quickly on.
Good.
Thank you, Mr. Bede. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. I noted that in the planning report, the planning has no concerns. But there was some neighbors that provided some comments. Maybe you could speak to if you've had a chance to review those comments and respond to them. And if not, I can recap what they are.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't believe I've received those comments.
Okay, let me pull open my comment summary. So we've got one neighbor, which is at 330 Friel. So I think a neighboring property talked about increased building height, reduced rear yard setback would block sunlight, diminish privacy with new windows, worsen noise, and smoking impacts and negatively alter the neighborhood's character. And another neighbor commented, oh, got two. Oh, yeah. Severe parking pressures in the neighborhood, concern that the proposed setbacks could be used for amenities which could negatively affect the streetscape, quality, as well as introduce noise issues. And maybe perhaps you could kind of speak to those just generally. I know that not all those things are always before us, but as part of a good practice of consultations, just providing assurances of these types of things get taken into account when through design and building and all that stuff. So
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I'll try to remember the comments there, and if I miss any that you think are important, please remind me. But I think one of the initial comments you made was increased building height. I believe that's a reference to the existing building, and then the permissions for building height here are being adhered to at the 12.5 meters, and so the building height is as of right. We do believe that it is well representative and compatible with the existing built form within the community, which is represented by buildings of this height and higher and lower as well. It's a mixed in terms of built form. It's a very nuanced and mixed community in that regard, and I think that does contribute to the character and the character of this building. We believe is compatible in that sense. Regarding the use of the rear yard as amenity area, that's a very common approach here and something that's encouraged by the City of Ottawa in regards to being able to accommodate infill development that can also accommodate, appropriate amenity area. It's difficult often for infill development to have amenity area within the actual building, and certainly we receive a lot of negative feedback if it's proposed on the rooftop, which is another option. And so we believe that that transition has been mentioned a few times here from drive aisle to and surface parking to a soft landscaping will be appropriate and actually likely benefit the community in the sense that it's a more sensitive and appropriate use and interface with the abutting residential. If there are concerns, obviously, as is always the case, there's a noise bylaw and other protocol that are in place to help to control any negative or less than desirable interactions. And so that wouldn't be certainly what we would intend in this rear yard area, but we believe that it's proposed and designed in a way that will fit well with the community. I think then in terms of parking, I think was another comment. Certainly the city here is and throughout the city with the new zoning bylaw is transitioning to a developer-led approach to parking where parking is going to be, parking minimums are going to be removed altogether and parking will be provided based on the developer and the property owner's assessment of the need for parking. And so in that sense, we believe that we're following along with the current direction from the city, but also we believe that this is an extremely well-served community in terms of walking and bicycling and public transit use. And therefore, residents will be able to go about their daily needs and even unique trips using the variety of transportation options that are available to them. And again, if on-street parking becomes an issue, or if there is any adverse impacts, there's always those bylaw protocols that can be utilized if need be. But it's 12 units, and so we don't believe that there will be again an insurmountable negative impact by providing no parking for this site.
thank you, Mr. Bede. I don't have anyone registered speakers on my speakers list. I'll do a call out. Is there anyone online or in the audience who would like to speak to this application, which is 333 Friel? Nope. Okay. Members, do we want to reserve or ready for a vote? Okay, so we're going to reserve our decision. And so what that means is that we will make a decision today, but we will not be providing it at this time, and you'll get the decision as usual in 10 business days. And I think that, wait, I missed the opportunity to give it back to you to recap if there's anything that you want to ensure that we keep in mind as we consider this application.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I do believe that I've had ample opportunity to discuss the project, and so I don't believe that I have anything unique to say other than we believe this is an appropriate and compatible development that fits well within the direction of the official plan and the zoning bylaw, and certainly adheres to the tests of the official plan or of the Planning Act. And so we appreciate your time today, and thank you so much.
All right, great, thank you. And I think that is the last application because 8 was fast tracked, 9 was fast tracked, and 10 was adjourned. So I think that means that our hearings are concluded. So thank you, everyone. And do I get a gavel? Like, what do I do? I just like the meeting's adjourned. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair.